Hi everyone, welcome to your video that is explaining how to create an outline for your podcast. This is a very, very important step because everything that you type in this planning document is what you're going to speak when you record your podcast. I don't expect you to memorize anything. You can just read off of your outline when you record your podcast. So this outline is super important, and I want you to also have your notes for the social issues document open as well, because you're going to be copy and pasting all your good facts into your outline. On this outline, I want you to complete all of the boxes that are not shaded. That's your must do. You should do all the boxes that are shaded in purple and aspire to do all the boxes in green. There's also a sample podcast outline that I'll be showing you in a second, but this is a really good tool so you can see an example of how to write your outline. So in order to start our podcast outline, we're gonna jump off with an introduction. Just like in an essay, an introduction tells us what your overall topic is, it grabs our attention, and it tells us kind of your main argument and your main point of your podcast. We are going to start off our introduction with a hook or an attention grabber. How are you going to get your audience's attention? If you click on this little link right here, it'll take you to some slides that talk about how we can write a good hook and a good introduction for our podcast. So we have a couple options of what kinds of things you can use for your hook. This might be the most common one right here, using a shocking statistic or fact from your notes about your social issue. That's a great way to draw someone's attention in. You can also use a quote from an expert about your topic. You can give a comparison or an example that relates to your social issue, or create an interesting hypothetical scenario. So an imagined scene that's not actually real, designed to get your audience thinking about your social issue. After you hook the audience's attention, it's time to give some background information on your social issue. So include general common knowledge information about your social issue. What do we need to know? Finally, you're going to say what your central argument is about your social issue. And this is where you're going to introduce your 3 subtopics. So right here in central argument, I want you to make sure you write down what your 3 subtopics that you'll be covering in your podcast are. So if you want to look at an example, click on that sample outline and you can see that this person is talking about plastic water bottle use and how that's an issue because of pollution. They start off with a shocking fact from their notes about plastic water bottles. They give us an overview of this topic, and then they tell us their 3 subtopics. So subtopic number 1, single-use bottled water should be banned because it's a huge problem. Subtopic 2, many places have already banned plastic water bottles. And subtopic 3, the future will be better without bottled water. After you've finished your introduction, the next thing you're going to do is introduce subtopic 1. So right here in this box is where you'll tell us what your first subtopic is. And you're going to write this in either a form of a question or a statement. So you could use one of those kind of guiding questions that you wrote for your research, if that is one of your subtopics. And there's also a link right here that will take you to a document with some good tips for how to write your 3 subtopics. So take a look at some of the examples here and the tips to help you write your topic, your subtopic. All right, this part is going to be pretty easy because you've already done the bulk of your research. You have all your facts. And this is where you're going to copy and paste the paraphrased pieces of evidence from your notes that fit into this subtopic. So subtopic 1, those notes should be highlighted blue in your document, and you're going to copy and paste the best pieces of evidence in the order that you think makes the most sense in these boxes. Again, I want that to be the paraphrased fact, so the one you put into your own words. This is where you're going to tell us, where did this information come from? So did you get it from a news source like CNN or NPR, something like that? Or you could tell us the author of the article. So this is where you're citing your source. In this box, you're going to explain what do you want to say about that fact or that piece of evidence? How does it relate to the subtopic that you're focusing on? You get to repeat this 3 times, right? Because we have 3 subtopics. So you'll move on to your second subtopic, introduce it in the form of a question or a statement, and then choose the best pieces of evidence and the facts that you have that fit in with that subtopic. You'll see you only have to do 3 at the minimum, so you need 3 facts for each subtopic, but you all have so many good facts in your research notes, I encourage you all to do 4 or 5 for each subtopic. Then you'll go down and do subtopic number 3, introduce it in the form of a question or a statement, copy and paste the best pieces of evidence that you paraphrased that fit with subtopic 3. And finally, we're going to write a conclusion. Again, there's helpful slides here that you can open up to see some examples and some tips for writing your conclusion. You are going to start by summarizing your central argument. So please restate kind of what you want the audience to learn about your social issue. And then you're going to end with a concluding idea. This is where you could go back to something from your introduction or leave the audience with something thought-provoking. Maybe you want the audience to do something, like an action item that you want them to do related to your social issue. This is where you get to write that last final thought. This mastery check is worth 20 points because it's pretty time consuming and it's very important. So I want you to really spend some good time and energy typing up your podcast outline. Ask me if you have questions or if you want me to check anything over, and I'm happy to help.